Hello, everyone out there. I want to ask you a question. So, as home care owners, as home care professionals, we want to make more. We want to do more. We want to have more, and we really want to make more impact. And today in the Action Cast, we're going to be talking about just that because we know that when we do well in our business, we can do good. We can do good in those that we serve. We can do good in our community. We can do good in our state. We can do good in an industry. And you're going to hear from Kelly Adams. She's a home care owner from a small town in Alabama, but she is now making a huge impact of the lives of family caregivers all across the nation. And I'm looking forward to her sharing some of the insights and her experience and her journey of how she's now reaching not just a few, not just hundreds, but people all over the United States. And I know if you're like me, and if you're like Kelly, then you want to make a bigger impact. You want to have a bigger reach. You want to expand your opportunities, and you want to expand those who have been impacted by the care, by the intentional actions, and by the solutions that you deliver in your home care agency. So I am so excited to welcome to the ActionCast stage, Miss Kelly Adams. Kelly Adams, welcome. So happy to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, to Home Care Ops Nation, you are no stranger. When it comes to being a true action taker, a home care owner that is truly leading from the front lines. You've shared with us some of your home care experience before about being an owner, about exiting daily operations, about leveraging a team managed agency. And today what we're sharing is a little bit different because we're going to be sharing really how your impact has expanded. Your reach has grown. The impact that you're making has went from beyond just Alabama, from state to state. And so I'm excited about really getting in there and them knowing and hearing your story. And for those of you who may not have heard of Kelly, if that's even possible, I want to tell you a little bit about who she is. So as I mentioned, she's a home care owner of Beyond Home Care in Alexander City, Alabama. And now she's been a home care owner. She brings years of experience. And what was it? Has it been about six years as a home care owner?
6.5 years.
That's incredible. And she has a podcast. I love her podcast. It's called Jerry Talk. And it's for modern caregivers who are juggling home, family, life, finances, kids while caring for an aging loved one. So for those of you who haven't tapped into that, that's a huge resource, not only for us as home care owners, but also for the families that we serve. And she's also authored 5 conversations you should be having with your aging parent. And she is an aging care expert, a certified senior advisor. We could go on and on talking about really the time investment, the experience investment, and the journey that has brought you to where you are right now, making the impact that you're seeing. And I'd love to know, like, what is it that makes supporting family caregivers truly being a resource of peace, a resource of support and guidance? Why is that so personal and important to you?
I have been around caregiving my whole life. Every person in my family has some sort of a role. My mom was a speech therapist. My aunt, who taught me about home care, was a recreational therapist, and she used to take me to the nursing home. We were able to care for my grandmother and bring her home on hospice. So I've been in and around the aging industry for forever. But I naturally just love to support people who need to be supported. There are people in this world that are doing good. This Home Care Ops Nation is part of that. You're doing amazing things. And so I love to support people who need that support and be a cheerleader. And just naturally, that kind of started to fall in as I worked with family caregivers, I started to realize they need support. There are so many resources available that we just don't talk about and we just don't bring to that forefront. And so it was just a really natural place for me to kind of fall into.
Yeah, I love that. And so today we're talking about expanding your reach and impact. And I know with home care owners, that's what many of us, all of us really, we're wanting to expand our reach. We're wanting to expand the impact that we're having on those that we serve, on those in our community, and those even outside of our reach. And I know for you, you have truly expanded your reach. And like you started in the small town of Alabama, and I remember whenever you come into our coaching program and Action Leaders, and you were like, I'm in a really small town.
I mean, really small, like really small.
And you were like, I know I want to do more. I want to reach more. There's so many people out there needing guidance, not just those that we are immediately touching in our community. And so I want you to share, like, what inspired you to go beyond just your community right there in Alabama, but to expand as far as you could reach.
Yeah, I think that the more I kind of grew in this world, I stepped into home care really just in a God wink. It really had never been on my radar to go into, and that is a whole conversation for another day. But through a lot of discernment, it just kind of came, and so as I really started kind of getting into this industry, I had no background in this. I mean, I am not. People are usually really surprised. I'm not a nurse. I'm not I was never a CNA. Like my degree is in PR. So I mean, I'm really good at that, the communication side of it. But I think that I'm naturally a problem solver. And so as I started in this industry, I kept taking a step back to say, how can we do this better? How can we reach more people? How can we impact more? Like many of you, I got into this industry to make an impact. Otherwise, if it were about money, we would be doing something very different. But the impact on people's lives that we can make is huge. And so I kept wanting to do that on a bigger scale. So, initially it was, okay, let me step back and how can I help more of our clients? Well, I need to educate myself. And so I just dove into that education side of it and understanding the financial and the estate planning and the Medicare and Medicaid and VA and all of it. And then as I got good at that, I kept stepping back and saying, okay, so what else? Okay, we don't talk about this. We don't talk about aging. We're like the most age averse country there is, or culture there is. And so we've got to talk about it more. So how do we talk about it in terms that people get? Okay, so that's when I started the podcast and started connecting with other people who were in the industry that I really wanted to learn from. I wanted to better understand estate planning. So I brought on an estate planning attorney and said, hey, can I interview you and like pick your brain? And I wanted to really understand Medicaid spend down. And so I brought on, an expert in a nursing home that dealt with admissions and billing. And I just, asked her all the dumb questions that I wanted to know. And so I think across over time, that's really what I've just done. I've just kind of stepped back and said, okay, so how can we do more? And that evolved into the YouTube channel and more resources and speaking at the National Private Duty Convention last year and again this year. So just having that open mind to realize that we can do more in home care.
I love that. And I love that I have been able to kind of have a behind the scenes peek into the journey that brought you here. And you truly saying, how can I make a bigger impact? People are reaching out to me beyond where I can service in my home care business. It isn't just about making money, but it truly is about helping them. And that's whenever you began putting together Your 5 conversations, you authored the 5 conversations, which really is a guide for family caregivers with aging loved ones. And that is something that family caregivers from all across the nation has downloaded that guide, and it's helping them. It's truly helping them. And so I love your heart to serve, and I love that you're taking action on the impact that you want to make. And I know from your aunt from when you were young to really the family battles right now that you're facing, and the people that have been influential. We all have a heart story in home care. We all have that story of why do we do what we do? Why do we do it behind the scenes when no one sees it? Why do we create resources that people on the complete other side of the nation can plug in and say, oh, she really is a solution. Oh, she really cares. Oh, she understands. And who have been some of those key influences in your life along the way?
Gosh, I mean, like there's so many. I mean, I have amazing parents. My dad, growing up, he always kind of told me that I could do anything that I wanted to, as long as I set my mind to it. It wasn't like the entitlement generation of today where you can have anything you want. It was more of like, if you're willing to work your tail off, then you can do it. And so that was hugely influential to me because, I mean, if you have heard me speak at all, I talk about how leadership was always kind of innate in me. But as a kid, I was bossy, I'm a woman. And so a lot of times as women, we are portrayed as bossy. And my dad used to say, well, somebody has to be the boss. And when we would play school, like I never wanted to be the teacher. I was going to be the principal. And so that leadership part of me kind of has always been there. And he really helped to foster that. My Gammy, who, if you see any of my collateral pieces or my website, I have a lot of pictures of my Gammy and me, and we lost Gammy a couple years ago, but I call her the Gammy standard because when I first started home care, I would never send anyone to, I've never sent a caregiver to a home that I wouldn't send to my own Gammy, and she was tough, and like she was independent, and I mean she's always kind of had that good Christian Southern woman that was instilled in me, and so. I mean, I have had great role models. I've just been really blessed in that. So,
And I love that really you've seen home care from every spectrum as the family caregiver, as the professional caregiver, as the professional solution, as the family caregiver saying, oh my God, what's next? How do I deal with this? And I know sometimes with me, I was a family caregiver who became a professional caregiver who went back to being a family caregiver. And there's times that even now dealing with certain situations that I'm even like, oh, what do I do now? And I'm so thankful that I can leverage the experience that I've had. And I know that you do the same thing. And as a home care owner and a family caregiver, what are some of the biggest concerns that families bring to you?
yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just not knowing the options that are available. We don't know what we don't know. And I always kind of tell people it's like when you get ready to have a baby, you've got like 9, 10 months that you're preparing and you're reading all this stuff. But aging isn't the same. We don't take the time to learn and read. And, we are so aging averse that we're going to do everything we can just to kind of dig our head in the sand and not talk about it. And so a lot of times when they come to me, it's because they just don't understand what's available or how it all kind of fits together. And so I think that knowing how home care and home health and hospice work together, how rehab works, how an admission and a discharge works, what Medicare pays for and what they don't, and how and that who puts in the orders, how you navigate the healthcare system. Knowing all of that kind of gives my clients that back door access to being able to make informed decisions. Because if they can make an informed decision, then they can spend their resources wisely, and ultimately they can bring in home care where and when it's needed. And that's what I want. I don't want a crisis situation and then just throwing caregivers at it. I want to be a solution that really brings people to the conclusion for themselves, because at the end of the day, we can guide people, but we can't be their savior. we can't be the one that does it for them. So if we don't walk by beside them with the resources, then they're going to drown.
I love that. That's so good. And it's our responsibility as home care owners and as care professionals, to really ensure that we have the professional skill and the professional knowledge to be able to meet those personal needs and those personal fears. And I know with you, you have unique experience. And how has having that unique experience and really the investment of in yourself, in your time, and in your education has helped you to really help others to be better prepared when dealing with an aging loved one and to have less anxiety of the aging care process?
Yeah, I think that so my degree's in communications. Um, so I think having a background in communications and being able to speak openly and honest with people, to have transparent conversations, to have the hard but empathetic conversations really does take me far. I know that, uh, if you've ever been in a situation where you're talking to a healthcare professional and they have horrible bedside manner, you know how that kind of leaves you and how you feel. And so being able to make that connection with a family, or with a family caregiver, is a huge part of, for one, them trusting me, but also just being able to offer those resources and offer those tools. I think the other thing is that I've stayed curious. And so I have done everything I can just to find, like, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to go find it. I want to find who does know it. I want to connect with them so that I can learn. Um, and so by staying curious and staying open to that, I've just been able to be that resource that if, if somebody's in a situation where they have an aging loved one and they don't know what to do, they may not need home care, but they are going to call Beyond Home Care because they want to talk to Kelly. And that's a lot of times I'll have hospice or home health partners that'll say, I don't know what you need, but you need to talk to Kelly. And so, over the last couple of years, that's just kind of the name I've made for myself. And I love it. I love being able to be that resource, because the more people that we can educate and support in this journey, the better it is for everyone, the better it is across the board.
Yeah, I love that. And I think your name is so fitting, Beyond Home Care, because you truly do go above and beyond in what you do, in the solutions that you provide, in the support that you give, in the experience and the knowledge that you have gleaned by developing yourself and investing that information so that whenever those questions come in about long-term care or financials or financial planning or just planning ahead or what is my options, for me, I can say this honestly as a home care expert, that home care is not always the best solution for everyone. But when we're
Exactly.
committed to delivering a solution, that means that we have to be educated about what are the options out there, what are the payer sources. And I love that you've really invested in the skill and knowledge, first from your business. I know you've personally invested in your business because you're in our coaching program, and I have loved being able to see you grow. But I also know the investment that you've made in becoming a certified senior advisor, to where you're learning far more of the scope
Yeah.
of everything involved in in care, home care, health care, financial planning. And I would love to know, through all of the learning and the experience, not only that you've learned, but now that you've provided to hundreds of family caregivers really across the nation. Isn't that excited to say? Across
Yes.
the nation? Like,
It's a little
really,
surreal.
I know. That's incredible, though. But tell us more about your scope of expertise, because I don't want home care owners to feel like they're just limited to knowing more about home care. Because I think by having the knowledge of the finances and all the things that really you're going to kind of give us a little short snippet of what you've been learning and what you have now been equipping family caregivers across the nation, I feel like it really is your unfair advantage, as Dean Graziosi would say, because you're not just that one trick. If they have one need, I can meet it. They may come to you with a symptom, and then you'll say, you know what? I think this is actually the solution. And they didn't even know it was something that they needed, but because that you had the knowledge, you had the experience, and you've already done it over and over again, you were able to see, hey, I'm hearing this, but what I'm really hearing from your worry and your concern is that. So it's more than just home care. Like the scope of expertise and the knowledge that you now are equipping family caregivers with, share with us what that looks like in a snapshot.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had Beyond Home Care for 6.5 years. 5.5 years ago, I realized that when people come to us, they don't just need a Band-Aid of a caregiver. They have lots of questions. And like I said, I'm not a nurse and I'm not in healthcare, and I didn't understand that world. And so I knew that I needed to educate myself in it. And I mean, I really dove headfirst into, okay, so what does the financial side look like? How do we pay for care? How do we plan? How do you know what different care options are going to cost? What are the options for like living arrangements? Do you only have a couple of options? Turns out you have tons of options if we plan ahead. How does rehab fit into that? How does financial planning fit into that? How does the VA system so all the different nuanced parts. I really have worked hard to kind of, honestly, create this authority in aging. I was telling Jessica earlier, like, so my husband's a physician and I'm constantly Dr. Adams' wife. It drives me bananas. But the first time that I really was like, okay, so I know what I'm doing is a couple years ago, I got a phone call from a local doctor, and he said, hey, so I have a patient here, and I don't really understand the VA system and what he could qualify for. Can you kind of educate me and then talk to the patient? And I was like, okay, so he's calling me, a home care owner, to educate his patient. And since then, I have gotten so many different questions from other healthcare workers, and understand that we don't educate on the full scope. I was on the phone the other day with a worker from the Department of Human Resources, Adult Protective Services, and talking about, placement for one of our clients. And I said, well, she can't go to that nursing home because she has dementia and it's not a memory unit. And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you're a social worker. You work for the Department of Human Resources, and having to educate her on the differences between the different types of nursing homes. And she was like, oh, I didn't realize that. And so I think that we have such an opportunity to learn more. And like I said, I didn't know any of this. And so, yes, it's an unfair advantage now, but in the beginning, y'all, I had to read the Medicare website like 20 times to understand the ABCs and Ds of Medicare. And even, I just did a YouTube video on understanding Medicare because it is so confusing. And if it's confusing for us, think about how confusing it is for that 70-year-old client that's trying to figure out what their insurance covers. It's things like that. I realized not long into the business that long-term care insurance sucks. It's great for what it pays for, but the process of it is just ridiculous. And so, we dove in and made sure that we were the experts in long-term care. And I could talk about long-term care until I'm blue in the face and take a client from beginning to end, and make it work so that they can understand, yes, you need to understand this part of the policy and that part of it, and avoid those headaches.
I love that. And I'm telling you, you're getting some love in the comments. Abby is saying, you are amazing.
Oh, thank you, Abby.
And someone said, I have even retold your stories. You are such a rock star, powerhouse woman. Like, I love this because now, and a while ago, you said it was surreal that you're impacting family caregivers all across the nation. But right now, you are now taking that and you're impacting home care owners all across the nation, and they're giving you a lot of loves in the comments. And somebody said, "Whoa, I didn't know about your podcast." So it
was pre-COVID. It was pre-COVID, so it hasn't. I haven't updated it since COVID because once the kids came home, we couldn't be quiet.
It's
So
awesome.
now we're YouTube.
It's awesome. I will say it's awesome. Her YouTube is amazing. YouTube is such a great resource. And I love that you're taking the knowledge. And I know how much time, and probably even more than I even know, that you have put in, and putting in all the dots and making something really complex, and then saying, okay, how can I simplify it to where they still get the intent, they get the outcome, they get the impact, but they're not having to spend hours, but in minutes they can walk away empowered. And for all those home care owners out there that are giving you love, I want to ask you, for the home care owners and the professionals listening in today, and they're saying, you know what, I want to expand my reach, I want to expand my impact. What are some tips? What are some advice that you would give them to help them increase their reach and impact in their home care business?
No, I mean, honestly, the best thing that you can do is just to stay really curious, ask questions, and reach out and network with those people in the industry. And we use that word network, and so often it's like we exchange business cards. That is not the kind of networking that I'm good at. And so when I talk about networking, I mean you call over to the nursing home, call over to an assisted living, make time to go and sit and find out what they do and what what their information is and how their information can help your clients, because naturally your care is going to just fit into that. You don't need to sell yourself. If you're a resource, then that's one of the best ways that you can create those connections and then also educate yourself and spread that information. That's been one of the biggest things, like just trying to figure out, okay, so how do I find that information? We've done community Facebook groups where I've got one going right now that's aging in Auburn, and would bring as many different aging industry related people in there, and those who are family caregivers or aging themselves, and just putting all those resources in one place so that you don't have to go and search for, all across Google. Where they are, it's right there, and just educating people on that. We've also done summits where I've brought in somebody from home health and from hospice and an attorney, and talked about the continuum of care and then paying for care, and just educating again. So anytime that you have the opportunity to learn more and then share that education, you don't need to know it all. And I think that's when I realized that I didn't have to know it all, because I don't. But I tell people, if I don't know it, I will find it for you. I will find an answer. I will find an expert and send you to them. And hey, I'm going to learn in the process. And people like that. It keeps you humble. No one's going to know everything. So don't be afraid to share what you know or what you find out, even if you don't know it all.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the important things that to really highlight in what you're saying is you didn't start reaching the entire nation overnight. It was consistent actions. It was small wins.
He's very small.
And when you first started, you probably didn't think this is eventually where I'm going to go. And I know you're just getting started on your next level of impacting even more. But it started with what am I doing right now that I can learn a little bit more or leverage a little bit more? Who can I involve? Who knows what I don't know, and how can we connect? How can we collaborate and put it out in the world? How can we do it in my local area? Like you were saying, Aging in Auburn is a free Facebook community that you put together as a resource. And then you said, okay, I've got these resources for my local community. How can I put them out on a national level so that home care owners or family caregivers can have access to it? And you're like, I can start a podcast. And a podcast, it reaches more than just me. And then you were like, how can I reach even more? I can do YouTube. And I love how you're staying curious, you're taking the actions, and every time you hit that next level, you say, okay, how can I impact more? How can I take more intentional action? And I love that for you, it's been a really good balance of I'm working on my business, I'm working on my knowledge, I'm working on myself, I'm working on my team. It wasn't trying to do it all at one time. get good at one
or
thing.
making it perfect. And that's the other thing I'll say. I'm a recovering perfectionist, like everybody else in the world, but you can't make it perfect. There are still so many things that I would like to fix and change and tweak. And I don't go back and watch any of the previous or listen to the previous episodes of the podcast because I'll be like, oh my gosh. But the information is out there, and it's all about progress over perfection. If you want to look at it and say, wow, she really should have changed that lighting, then that's on you and not me.
I'm the same way. Like I'm not always going to use correct grammar. I can actually guarantee you I will never always use
You're
correct
Southern.
grammar. But it's about progress over perfection. I love that you brought that in, and it's about doing the thing and then saying, hey, what do I want repeated? What can I do more of? What will make the biggest impact? How can my team get involved in this as well? Because today we're talking about you, but I know that what you're doing now was made possible by the effort, the real effort and intentional actions of putting a team in place
Yes.
to support you so that you could focus on things like this. And I love how now you're going even one step further, and you're leveraging that knowledge, you're leveraging your experience to make a greater impact. And I know recently you took a big step and really it's so that you can provide invaluable resources to family caregivers anywhere in the United States, and they can get access to really invaluable resources, guidance that they so desperately need. And I know for me, most of you listening know that getting guidance on like what to do, what to expect, how to prepare, how to get your finances in order, to talk to attorneys, to talk to care managers and planners. A lot of times that's hundreds of dollars an hour just to sit down and get that resource. But you are rolling out the Aging Care Blueprint.
The Aging Parent Blueprint.
Yeah, the Aging Parent Blueprint. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm super excited about it. And this is something that home care owners can really leverage this and make it a resource available to the family caregivers that you serve. And it will give them that guidance. So all of this knowledge and experience that Kelly has consumed and been leveraging and refining through the families that she's helped, you can now leverage that in your business and share it with the families that you're helping. So tell us a little bit more about the Aging Parent Blueprint.
Yeah, I mean, this is a digital course. It's 6 weeks long, and it's been a passion project for at least 2 years. It is one of those things where you look at it and you're like, yeah, I can do that in a couple of months, and then 2 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much work that goes into this. But there's so much. If you're a home care owner, you've been in these conversations where you're like, we needed to have this talk years ago. There's so much that really goes into preparing for that aging stage. And I mean, at this point, I've worked with thousands of families, and I've looked at like what works well and what doesn't. Why did some go in this great direction, and then others just end up in chaos and conflict? And I mean, a lot of it comes into the preparation and the planning. And so this course, it doesn't teach you how to care. It's not about the hands-on care, but it takes you through the different the different buckets of planning. So the understanding what the next stage brings, the living arrangements, the medical decisions, and the healthcare, and staying organized, and the estate planning and attorney, and all of those different components, so that they kind of have a good understanding of all of it before you need to get into it, but before your parent needs the help. And really the purpose was, just like with the 5 conversations that you should be having with your aging parent, there's a different way to do this than what we keep seeing people do. We keep seeing people in this crisis situation where they are having to take control, and they're diving in, and the relationships are tearing up. But if we can prepare ourselves and really learn what we need to, and have the resources around us, then we can walk beside our parents through this journey of aging. We don't have to role reverse. It doesn't have to be that way. And so as crazy as it is, just a few weeks before I really started to put this course out into the world and it went live, we got a diagnosis from my own dad that means that he's going to need care down the road. And so I'm walking through this course at the same time with my parents that I am with a lot of other families. And so, but we've had conversations for the last 10 years, and I can be that support system for them because we have been having those conversations. So this is a really cool opportunity for you guys to leverage for those clients that call you and they need support, but they don't need care yet. This can get you access to them and feeding them supportive tools and information before they need your services, because I can't service them in Wyoming or Ohio. So I'm not your competition. You can send them my resources that I've created and then stay in touch with them and ask if they have questions and then learn so that you can keep engaging and build your funnel to where when they do need help, then you're the natural solution.
I love that. And I love that once again, it goes back to the impact that you're wanting to make personally through what you do. And from family caregivers to the home care owners within our network, you're just keeping the love going. The impact is continuing to expand. And I know that everybody is going to want to know what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, I think Katie's going to share a resource for you, and that is probably the best way. This is my resource that I created, and you're welcome to download it and read through it. But then send the same link out to your people, to your clients and stuff, so that they can use it too. Don't recreate it. But if you, after looking at it, if you want to learn how to do something like this, holler at me, because I would absolutely be interested in teaching how I did it. But the 5 conversations you should be having with your aging parent, it's about an 11-page PDF, and y'all, it is detailed. And so it is a really good opportunity for, if you sign up for that, then I can go ahead and start sending you information that I put together in the YouTubes and connect. And, but then also that your clients can start thinking through those conversations so that when you do need to approach them about more care or about hospice or about these little things, then you can go ahead and have already put that that foundation out there, and that really helps to have those conversations.
I love that. And thank you. Thank you for sharing that 5 conversations. That truly is a tremendous guide. Not only have I seen it, I have actually sent it out to my own family who is facing that prepare, and oh my goodness, we should have already done this years ago. So thank you, Kelly, for coming and sharing your knowledge, your expertise, your experiences, your journey, and impacting all of us. And so it's always good to have you here.
Thank you.
Everybody be sure to give her some love in the comments. Grab that 5 conversations you should be having with your aging parents. And everybody remember to keep taking action.